many losses, but we killed this.
Alright, welcome everybody. So our second step, what we did last time, we did the login screen. In the login button, we basically checked if the file existed. We read everything from the text file, put it into an array, 3 different arrays. The arrays are created on top in public so I can use it in my other units. Array username, password, and the type of user with a counter on how many there were. So we read everything from the text file, split it with the hashes, put it into the arrays. Then we went and extracted what the user typed in, and then we went to go look if it's there, to check if the username or password is there and correct and in the right places and so forth. If it is correct, it took us on. If it's not correct, it gave us an error. So now what our plan is for today is, or what I want to show you just to save some time. I did some of it already, well actually most of it, but let's see. So the idea is I put a label up here, sometimes top right might be a nice place or wherever, just a label for the user. So whoever signs in, I just want to put his name there. Just sometimes it's nice that you can see like who is the person that's actually logged in, and you'll see with most programs it actually works like that. Like if you open up a program and the person that signed in, their name is like shown in a corner somewhere the whole time. Like in Google, you'll see there's an icon of the person who signed in on the top right corner. So that's sort of the idea there. And then this one for future use, I wanted to just load all of my people's names in there. So all of the users from the text file, I'm loading in there. And this would be something like if it's administrator, then they can maybe change like passwords and stuff. So we'll get to that part. And then the idea is to maybe just create another label here dynamically. So you need to have a dynamic component. I think that's about 4 marks to have anything. It just says you need to have dynamic components. It does not. I actually went to go look at the rubric again. Just open it up. So a dynamic component, you'll see this goes with this complex code is for this mark here. Excellent use of complex code that works correctly, adds value to the system. So you could literally just do one component that's dynamic and you'll get this as long as it adds value to the system. So you don't need to have a lot of components or make them complex at all. So what a dynamic component is, you'll see like here, there is no label there. But if I play my program and then a person that should log in can log in, then suddenly there's a label there. And that is a dynamic component. So it's not like I went and clicked on this thing and set the show hide, the set visible. If I make this false, you can still see the label because it still exists. I just made it so that it's not seen. But that's not what a dynamic component. A dynamic component means you're actually creating a component at runtime. So as soon as the program starts running, you're actually creating the component as you go along. So, and that's sort of the idea behind this one. So how we do that? All right, so what we want to do is we basically want to, as soon as we go from this screen, as soon as we go from this form to this form, we want certain things to happen as this form is shown. So now we can't actually, if you double click on this, it actually goes on a form create. It creates a form create method for you. Now, the problem with that is a form create method is as soon as the form is created, this code is run. Now, some of you will say, but sir, that's exactly what we want. And unfortunately, it's not actually what we want, because the problem is, as soon as you play your program, as soon as this one is played, all of your forms are already created. You can just not see it. And that's why you'll see, remember with our code, the code that takes us to the next screen, it basically says, show me that form and hide this form. So we never created the form. We didn't create that form. The form was already created. So this form by playing is already created. So if you go put code in that form create bot, it happens before everything, even before the first screen. All that code's already run. So then we can't say, all right, use the stuff that's in the array, because there's nothing in the array, because that code is not run even yet. So what we do is, you'll select your form, go to your events tab that's on the left. You'll see where the properties is, there's a tab for events. Go to the events one. And then if you scroll down a bit, you'll see there's an on show. There's an on show one. And then what you do is just on the right hand side of it, just double click there. It will create a form show. If you double click, it creates like an event for you that says form show. So this one will, as soon as this form is shown, then it runs this code. And that's where we actually want it, because as soon as this form, as soon as we put this code that form2.show, as soon as this line is run, then we want this code to happen. So that's what we want to do. All right, now what we want to do inside here is maybe step one is let's put whoever the user is to put his name there. So let's do that step one. So what we do is, it is our label. I called it LBL user. And then we say dot caption, because that's where our code goes for displaying in the label. That must get the value of. And then you'll see now I want to use the values in unit 1. So I already went, if you haven't done that yet, you will need to go to File, Use Unit, and then just say Use Unit 1. Then you'll get an option, because now I want to go to Form. So I'm going to go Form 1, because I want to use something from there. Remember these things names, they're not Unit 1 and Unit 2. It's Form 1 and Form 2. Form 1 dot. And then what I want, I can maybe just grab it from the edit box. So whatever the user typed in his edit box, but remember to extract from an edit box, we use our dot text. So what this will do is, it will take whatever's in Form 1's edit box in the text property and give that to this caption. So now if we run this, don't worry about that error, I'll explain it just now. What did I do wrong? Okay, but in any case, so now if we say Jan here, and I pass 1, 2, 3, and I say log in, then what did I do to this thing? Did I still make it invisible? Just see this one. Oh, visible still false. Then change it back to true. I clicked the wrong thing. Alright. So you'll see now it's going to work correctly. So now as soon as the person signs in, Jan and 1, 2, 3, log in, then it will say Jan there. Alright, so it extracted those values from the first form. Whatever was in this edit box, it took across and displayed it there. So that's one nice thing already. Then maybe what we want, remember in our combo box, we want everything from this array in here. Remember we had an array with all the usernames. So we might want to populate this combo box with all of the names that's inside here. So what you'll do, we'll still go to our, on the form show, but you agree, we want to work with an array. And we want to take each of the values in the array. So whenever you're working with an array, you'll know, oh, I need a for loop. And remember, I started at 0. And then remember now, how will I know how many elements are in the array? So I'm just jumping the gun a bit, answering my own questions. Remember, we've got this counter here. In Form 1, the counter kept track of how many we've got. So I want to go and use my forms 1 dot counter. So now if you want to use variables on that side, you can use it exactly the same way. The only difference is just say form 1 every time. So because I want to use form 1's this variable, form 1's this component. Yes. All right. So remember, there's a difference with global variables. As you'll see, this count is not created in this class at all. It's not here. There's no count here anywhere. If you look on top, count is in the other unit. So count is now suddenly not in the same unit. It's in a different unit. So count is global, yes, but it's global for this class. So now what we need to do is, that's why we put it in public. With public, it means other units can also use it. But now it's in other units, so you have to now indicate, I'm going to use this unit's count variable. Alright, so we have to say we're using that one, so that will run the right loop. Then if you want to add something to your combo box, so I called my combo box CBO names, you go dot, and then you'll see there's an add item option. Now you'll see add item actually wants two pieces. So the first thing is a string that you want to add. So that is the array, but again the array is in the other unit. So I need to say I want to use my form1 dot, and now I can say I want to use that array username. But remember, it's an array, so I need square brackets. So now which value? So that's the I. I is my counter now. So I can take the first username, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. Take each of those ones, add it there. But something that's a little bit stupid, there is a second piece, and they're basically asking you, where do you want to add this item to? And I want to add this item to my combo box names. So that goes sort of like twice there. But then that's fine. Alright, now what we do is, let's see how this works. So we play this. My username is Jan, password 123, logging in. Now if I drop this box, there you'll see Jan, and then all the users that was in my text file is now suddenly here, already populated. So as you add and remove names, every time you get here, it will actually adapt. So that's what's nice about this. It's not a fixed value. It actually got those values from the text file. So that is a nice thing to do. Alright, then I'm going to show you how to add a label dynamically. Now a label or an edit box, they are easy. Buttons are also okay. Buttons are a little bit more complex because you want to create a button, and when it's clicked you want to do something else. And that's sort of, there's like a follow up on it that makes it a bit more tricky. But so I'm going to show you a label. Edit is exactly the same. And then if you want to do a button dynamically, then you ask me and I can help you with that. But it's sort of similar, a little bit more difficult though. Alright, so step one is we need to go create a component. So what I did, I went up here and I just created another. So I didn't create anything in here. I didn't write anything here. I went literally this side and I said LBL user, and I just called it LBL user 1, and I said it's of type T label. So I put it up here. I'm thinking actually if I move it, it will reduce some of my errors. Let me just see. You'll see every time I click save or play, it actually asked me something, and that's to make that thing work. I'm going to move it here just to test it. Then at least it doesn't ask the whole time. So what you do, step one, is you can call it anything you want to, but I'm going to do a label. So T label. If you're not sure what to call it on that side, create one. Like a combo box is T combo box, label is T label, that's a bit button. Let's say you wanted to do an edit box. What I suggest is get an edit box this side, drag it across, and now if you go to your code, you'll see there it says T-edit. So T-edit is that one, if you wanted an edit box. Alright, but I don't want that. Oh well, maybe, why not? Let's call it, EDT test. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but then I'm going to call it, I want the edit box, so I'm going to call it T-edit. So you first create the component there. At this stage, this still does nothing. You'll see if you play it, the component's not there at all. Maybe just to help you, you'll see the component's not there. Advice I can give you. Go to your first screen. Once you got your login working, click on that thing. Just change the caption to like an administrator. Just change the caption. Oh, not the caption, the edit part. Text. Where's text? Try skip it now. Just make the text that one, and the same with your password. Make the password the right password. Just for now, while you're testing your program, because now every time you go in, then you don't need to type it. Then you can just go log in immediately and check the stuff. That will save you a lot of effort. Alright, so you create it up here. Give it a name, same, the correct abbreviation in front. I've typed t-edit, and then what you do is down here. Now, we have to first go create that object. So call it your edit test1. Go equals. Remember, it's a t-edit. So call your t-edit. And remember, what is our constructor always called? So you say dot create. Yes. So you call the create method of the t-edit, and you give that basically to this one. So that creates the object for you. But now this object we need to put somewhere. It needs to have a parent, like it exists within something. So now that thing dot parent, you have to give it a parent. Parent. This one, that's just parent. There it is. And then give it to your form. So it's gonna be my form 2. It's gonna be his parent. So this edit box exists within form 2. Now you have to give it some properties and places. So now you go and you do that thing dot top. Remember, that's how far it is from the top. So play around with it. What I suggest, take an edit box, your edit box, put it where you want it, drag it in, I want it here. Then what you do is go look by the properties of this thing. Then you'll see the left is 216 and the top is 136. So top is 136 and the other one is 216. So then your top is 136 and your EDT, the left is, what was it, 216. So you give those values. Then you go back and you just delete this thing because you don't want it there, but we just needed to know where it is. And then you must make it visible as well. So that thing dot show. Right, now let's see. You remember, or you saw that there is no edit box here. So let's quickly go play this thing now. Okay, there's an error. Oh, in this thing, we have to also this goes to forms 2. Just put your forms 2 in the create, like where it must be created. Alright, then that is in, we log in, and miraculously there's your edit box. So then you can put a label, and that's the key thing. So, and that's how easy it is. That is a dynamic component. So main thing, the parts that you've got, you have to create it on top. It must be like a global variable, global object. You have to create the object, so call the constructor of the form you want in. Give it a parent, which is that form. And now you can give it all other properties. So now you can say, okay, this edit box, the text should be, and then you can give it a starting text if you wanted to. So you'll see now if you play this thing, if you log in, it starts with that text. So you can now work with all the general stuff here on the left, your properties, and give it all the values. You can change the height and the width, and you can give it a hint if you want to. You can do all that just with code. Every time it's your component name dot, a property name, and then equals to the property value you want to give it. And then dot show. And then this actually creates that edit box. You would have seen the edit box wasn't there, but this creates it for you. And that's a dynamic component that gives you 4 marks, and then you're happy. Just make sure that this component has got a value at least. You remember with our rubric, it just said create a dynamic, but it needs to add value to the system. So you could have to actually even, if I created this label dynamically and put the username there, that adds value because now you can see who's there and the label's there and that's sorted, and then you don't need to do anything else. So that is it. Remember the edit box, you won't actually want to, the guy will type something in and then maybe you want to use it later on. So you can then, let's say there's another, like, I'm just going to go there. So in this combo box, you want to use that value. Then you can just go and say the edit, you'll see you can use edit.text and that you can give to a variable. So you can say whatever gets the value of, and whatever the person typed in there, you give that. So that's perfectly fine. It's only, so this edit box works exactly the same as any other box. The only problem comes in, like I said, if it's a button you want, and once it's clicked, that should activate another method. Then we'll actually just create a method for it. We'll create a procedure like this, and we do an on-click for that button. So if you want to do a dynamic button, you talk to me and I'll help you with it. But an edit box, a label, combo boxes, list boxes, they all work exactly like this. And then they're workable. You use them as if they were there the whole time. So now you can have an add remove button that uses the values that comes from that edit box, and you use it as if it was there from the start. You don't need to worry about that it was dynamically created.